What does that even mean? What does that make you think about? And what type of emotions does that bring up? Well, let's start with thinking about or looking at what's actually in your purse. So why don't you grab your purse, pull it out, show it off to your friends, your neighbors, look inside. What kinds of things do you guys have in there? Let's do something fun. Oh, I think you might win this. Let's do something fun. Let's see who has the strangest thing in their purse. We have a hot dog over here. Can anybody beat that? Anybody got anything stranger than a hot dog? Jelly bellies. At the bottom. Loose jelly bellies on the bottom. Yeah. Anything else? I'm going with the hot dog at this point. Yes. What do you have? What is it? Play-Doh. A banana case? A banana case. Nice. Where did you get that? That's brilliant. Where'd you get that? That is awesome. That is. Okay, we got a banana case. I'm still going with the hot dog. Anybody can beat the hot dog? What is it? Underwear? Extra underwear? It's your daughter? I always have an extra pair of like Hello Kitty underwear for my daughter in my purse as well. Yes. Okay, so I'm gonna go with the hot dog. What's your name? Korea has a hot dog. Lovely. I'm gonna give you a little prize. You win. Okay, so do you want to see what's in my purse? And I tell you, I promise you, I on purpose I didn't clean out or do anything, so I'll show you what I really do have. But so we have like our cell phones, right? And I have my wallet, makeup bag, glasses case, and then, my keys, of course. And all kinds, then we have all the random stuff, right? So if I was honest, I have like a phone charger without a cord. I have about like 20 Matchbox cars, some gum, a couple journals. I have a banana. I need a case for a banana. What's funny too is I thought this earlier. I have a baby Jesus at the bottom of my bag, like a little doll. So funny. So all the random things that we have at the bottom of our purses. What are these things that we carry around in our purse? What are they used for? What do they mean to us? What's their significance? Obviously glasses, for your vision so that you can see. A wallet is for your money, cash, credit cards, right? Maybe your driver's license and things like that. Keys is access to your car, to your home. Makeup bag, some blush, lip gloss, a little hand sanitizer, your makeup and stuff. And then all of your random things. So what if I gave God my purse, and I would have to give him all of these things. And this is all very important stuff, right? This is my most important stuff. This is my life. I need it. It's my life. So what if I gave God my purse? What if you gave God yours? I came to a point in my life in my early 30s when I made the choice to really invite God into my life. And as I grew closer to God and more serious about my commitment to him, once I really made him my main priority, I started handing over all of the most important things in my life to him and giving him control over more and more. And I started to notice a real change that was occurring in my heart, a real shift in my perspective, a real clarity in my sense of purpose. I felt more free, more real, more genuine, more comfortable in my own skin, more clear about what type of woman I wanted to be, what type of wife and mother and friend and community member. But this whole transformation was, or is, a process, because it's not just about me or about wanting to be different or mustering up the energy to become a better person or make some positive changes. It's really about a real living, breathing relationship with Christ. It's about what happens in the middle of that love affair that you have with God. It's a daily giving, a moment by moment surrender. It's not something that you can do just one time. It requires a real choice every day to surrender control and allow God to have access to every little detail in your life. So I'd love to tell you a few stories and give you some examples of how I've transformed over the years through my relationship with the Lord. Oh my gosh, I didn't see that baby. It's so tiny. Congratulations, 2 weeks. That's awesome. So let me show you what happened in my life when I handed over control to God, when I gave him my purse, so to speak. I think the very first thing that I handed over were my glasses, my vision. You know, I've gotten to that point where I really, truly need like corrected lenses at all times. So it says on my license. You know, so I gave over control of my vision, how I saw the world, how I saw myself. And I began to get clarity and focus as I saw the Lord clearly for the very first time. It was about 9 years ago when I became a Christian. I wasn't raised in church. I didn't even really know who this Jesus Christ was. It used to, like, just saying Jesus Christ used to just bug me. It's like, can't we just, like, talk about God? But what is the deal with this Jesus thing? Like, I just had no concept. I didn't understand it. And I didn't know where to really start or what to believe. And when I delivered my second daughter, I had what's called a wet tap when I had my epidural. And so they like went too far into like the Durasac that covers your spinal cord, and they punctured it. And so I was leaking spinal fluid. And what happens is you get these terrible spinal headaches because when you sit up, your fluid is like slowly leaking out, and you know your brain then just doesn't float. It sits like on your, you know, the cavity of your skull. It was horrendously painful. I had these terrible headaches, and I just started to get these really, really high fevers. I got really sick. I had an infection. 104, 105 temperature finally at the point, and it was really scary. And at the time I didn't know that I had meningitis. They had to do like a spinal tap and do some cultures to finally determine that there was bacteria in my spinal fluid. And so I was really sick, and I was just panicking. I thought, why am I getting so sick? Why do I have such a high fever? I have this infection, and no one's gonna figure out what's wrong with me, and I'm gonna die. I just had this feeling like I'm just gonna die, and I'm gonna leave my 2 little girls, not even 2 years old and not even 2 days old. I'm gonna leave them with my husband to raise these little girls by himself. And I was just devastated, and I was really scared. And so for the very first time in my life that I can remember, I really prayed and I really called out to God. And I remember being in my hospital gown and being totally delirious and out of my mind just from the high fever. And literally on my knees in that room, I was by myself. My husband had gone home to be with my other daughter, and I just remember praying, my gown's like falling off. I'm a total mess, and I'm just like, God, you know, if you save me, I'll find you, I'll figure it out, I'll seek you out, I'll dedicate my life to you. And surely enough, in hindsight, as I look back, all these miraculous things happened. And it just so happened the infectious disease doctor was on the labor and delivery floor, and he came in and blah, 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 blah. And miraculously healed, no problem, went home a few days later. It was incredible. But that began that relationship. And so I started church shopping and trying to figure out where I was going to go and learn. And I landed here at San Clemente Presbyterian. I became really good friends with Pastor Todd, who was the pastor just previously. And I started meeting with him, and I started asking all the big questions. And I remember that he suggested that I just start reading the Bible. Just start with the book of Matthew and just pretend like you believe what you're reading and just see what happens. And I did. And somewhere along the way, I believed it. It wasn't a choice that I made, but I looked back and was like, I just believe this stuff when I read it. I truly believe it to be true. And I developed this ferocious appetite for anything God-related. I mean, I was obsessed, I still am, with theology books. I mean, it's all I read. You'll never find me reading like a fiction novel. It's always going to be something about God, something about theology, something about a story or a testimony. Christian music, it's all I listen to. I mean, not by choice. I didn't say, now I've become a Christian, I can only listen to Christian music. But I just naturally acquired a taste for that, and I wanted to fill my mind and my home and my car with that type of praise and worship music. And I mean, don't get me wrong, we listen to a lot of One Direction and Taylor Swift in my house, and I still love a good like AC/DC or Beatles or whatever, but you know, I just love to fill my mind with that kind of music. And always in a Bible study, I found myself surrounding myself with friends who were also Christians. Not that I made a deliberate choice to leave certain groups of people, but you know, just naturally started to desire to be with other people who were kind of walking the same walk as me. So believing in him, I noticed, just started to really change my everyday life. Once I invited him in and I gave him full access to the areas of my life, when I asked him to fix this or change that or help me with this, you know, he just moved in with like a bulldozer and a sledgehammer and just total renovation of my life, just knocking down walls and really just transforming me. And as I was studying the Bible and I was getting to know who Jesus was, I was learning about him and about the things that were important to him. And these are the things that he said. He said, God blesses those who are poor, humble, who hunger for justice, who are merciful and work for peace. God blesses those who don't store up your treasures here on earth, but in heaven. No one can serve two masters. You cannot serve God and money. Give as freely as you have received. If any of you wants to be my followers, then you must turn from your selfish ways. Take up your cross and follow me. Love your neighbor as yourself. So it became crystal clear to me from the very beginning that my faith had to be more about, you know, just going to church on Sundays and avoiding the big sins, but that God expected more from me. And I discovered that faith was an action word. It wasn't just a belief system. And Jesus wanted me to follow him. And I wanted to follow Jesus. So it's time to hand over my keys. You know, I give my glasses, so I'm going to hand over my keys and I'm going to follow him. And it's time to give up control about where I would go and when. It was time to follow. So what does that even mean, to follow Jesus? I mean, how do you follow him? I mean, if following Jesus like following the leader, like playing that game, follow the leader. You know, the leader puts their hand on their head, so then you put your hand on their head, or the leader touches their nose, so then you touch their nose. I mean, should I be doing what he's doing? Should I be emulating those things? In that case, then, I should be doing what he says and doing what he does. So I began to question, does my life look like I'm following my leader? What does my leader do? What does he say? What does he care about? Shouldn't I also then care about those same things? So I searched the Bible from front to back, and I found many issues that God cares about. And I noticed 3 groups of people that come up again and again and again. Who are the people at the top of God's priority list? Because if I was going to follow him, then shouldn't they also be at the top of my priority list? Well, they are the orphan, the widow, and the stranger. These are the weak and the underprivileged and the outcast and the vulnerable and the needy people that are among us. And Scripture mentions the importance of caring for this group more than 60 times. So clearly these people are one of God's top priorities and his greatest concerns. Let me just share a few of the scriptures where God confirms his commitment to this group. From Psalm 68, a father to the fatherless, a defender of widows, is God in his holy habitation. God sets the solitary in families, and he brings out those who are bound into prosperity. From Deuteronomy 10:18, he administers justice for the fatherless and the widow, and loves the stranger, giving him food and clothing. Isaiah 1:17, learn to do good, seek justice, help the oppressed, defend the cause of the orphan, fight for the rights of widows. In Psalm 82, give justice to the poor and orphan, uphold the rights of the oppressed and destitute, rescue the poor and the helpless, and deliver them from the grasp of evil people. And my favorite, James 1:27, pure and genuine religion in the sight of God the Father means caring for orphans and widows in their distress and refusing to let the world corrupt you. So clearly, God has expectations for those who call themselves his followers. But I had to be very careful then not to think that I just had to pile on all these good deeds now, just to please God. I couldn't just do these things without the right intention or without the right heart, because that would be missing the point. An authentic commitment to God will always be accompanied by a transformed heart. God is way more interested in your relationship with him than he is about any good work that you can do, because he doesn't need you to do it. But I believe that if you're truly seeking to know God and you're in a relationship with him, then he will begin to break your heart for the things that break his heart. And then you will naturally desire to be more like him and do the things that he would do. So I've heard it 1,000 times. Jesus said, follow me. And I like to imagine that Jesus is just a few steps ahead, beckoning me to follow. So he's, you're following him, and he turns to you and he's like, come on, follow me. And you're like, come on, follow me. He's just a few steps ahead, just follow me. And you just kind of follow behind him. Well, where is he leading? Who is he leading me to? Does my daily life reflect that I'm following him? Does the calendar in my cell phone show that I'm spending time following him every day? When I pull out my wallet, am I spending my money the way he would want me to? Do I consult Jesus on every dollar I spend? Is my minivan driving to the places that he would go and spending time with the people that he would spend time with? When I pull out the compact mirror in my makeup bag, do I see myself the way Jesus sees me? Am I a temple of his Holy Spirit? About 8 years ago, Jesus led me right into the middle of an organization called Acres of Love in South Africa. Through the course of an amazing friendship, I learned about this organization, and I learned that more than 6,500 new HIV infections occur every day in the world, and 1,000 of those happen in South Africa. And AIDS is wiping out an entire generation of people on that continent and specifically in that country. Because you have your older generation of people that are naturally dying of older age and natural causes, and you have your children who are alive and well, but being raised with that middle generation of people dying from AIDS. It's wiping out that most productive group of people, the teachers and the doctors and the nurses and the community members and the workers. They're being infected and they're dying, and we're leaving a continent and a country of children who are orphaned with nobody. It's wiping out an entire generation, and there's no system that's big enough to catch that number of orphans. There's no government program, no organization, no church that can catch that significant number. They say there's about over 3 million orphans in South Africa. How many people live in Orange County? Roughly 3 to 4 million people. So if you can imagine that many orphans walking around the streets with nowhere to go. 575 children every day wake up with a parent and go to bed that night without them. 575 a day. And these children who become orphans, they live in total poverty and helplessness. They're left completely alone with nobody to care for them. They're often found beside the body of their dead mother. They're starved and they're beaten and they're sexually abused. They're locked in outhouses. They're thrown down long drop toilets. They're huddled together in cardboard boxes. They're left in way overcrowded hospitals. They're wandering along the streets. They're found in abandoned cars and in the park with dogs and living under bridges. I want to tell you the story of 3 little girls that I've met in South Africa. And I'm sorry, actually, I think I left the picture frames back there on the table there. There's a few picture frames, thank you. And I'll just show you their pictures. But this one little girl, her name is Teps. And when she was born, her mother, thank you so much. Her mother gave birth to her out in an open field and just left her there. And we can speculate or hypothesize why and try to have compassion instead of anger for the mother. But so maybe she was very ill and knew she was going to die and thought maybe the baby was going to be sick too and just better off to die. Or maybe, she was raped and this pregnancy wasn't planned and it was a shame for her, shameful for her to bring the child home. We don't know. But the little girl was found by someone, they think a couple of days later, which is even miraculous that she would survive that long, but that she was then found by a community member who took her to a hospital or to a police station. And, she still had her umbilical cord attached. She had never been bathed. There were bugs all over her, and rodents were chewing off her right ear. This is Tabs today. So she is miraculous, and she's doing well. In fact, this picture was taken a year ago, so she's even bigger and stronger and more amazing now. And I'll leave the pictures up front so you can see, but you can even see her little right ear there is just completely chewed off. It didn't impair her hearing, but cosmetically, and we're in the process of getting her a prosthetic ear fit so that she's getting teased at school and things at school. There's another little girl by the name of Kitty. Her name is Pussy Letso, actually, but she goes by Kitty. And her parents, we don't really know much about her biological father, but her mother died of AIDS, and she was left to be taken care of by an uncle. And she was just a burden to him. I mean, he really didn't want to take care of her. I mean, you have this over and over again of these family members or community members that kind of just feel that burden to take these kids in, but they don't really want to. So she was a burden to him, and she was sick, and he didn't understand why. And so anytime she would show signs of sickness, he would beat her and lock her out of their shack in the dirt and force her to do like laundry outside in the cold, and then hang the laundry and then stay outside all night with the dogs. And when she was rescued into the care of Acres of Love, we realized that she had full-blown AIDS and also had stage 4 cancer. And she had these bumps all over her body, all over her face, and inside as well, this type of like sarcoma, Kaposi sarcoma, I think is what they called it. Anyway, she was very, very ill. And they were nervous about even putting her through chemotherapy and radiation because her immune system was so compromised from the AIDS. But they did, and miraculously, she's doing well. She is in full remission from her cancer, and her HIV is not even traceable. They can't even find it. So she's just on the lowest level of like ARV medication so that it doesn't mutate, but they can't even trace it. It was just miraculous. She's 17 now. This is Kitty today. She's a beautiful, shy girl. She loves to sing. She's super boy crazy. Like, it's ridiculous. But this is Kitty. And then another little one by the name of Nanji, and she's my first love in Africa. And her story was the first one that I heard that really just ruined me. And the story with Nanji was that her and her brother, her older brother, who's 2 years older, his name is Manny Mancoba, they were also living with an uncle. Their parent mom had died, and he was sexually abusing her. She was 4 or 5 years old. And from the abuse, she contracted both HIV from him and HPV. So she had, because of her immune system being so compromised, just a horrible status of genital warts inside, outside, and was in a tremendous amount of pain. And so when I heard her story, the deal was that they were looking to raise $15,000 for a series of surgeries that she would need to have, probably hysterectomy, to kind of clean her out and heal her from this. So that was the first that I had heard of this organization, and I had 2 little girls at the time and was just sick over it. I mean, it just rocked my world, and I couldn't understand or believe that just because my 2 daughters were lucky enough to be born in the United States to me and to my husband and have medical care and all these things, but here this child was an innocent victim of just poverty and where she lived and the socioeconomic status. It just didn't seem fair that she was having to suffer and endure this. So I really jumped in with both feet and wanted to get involved and raise that money. And so I gathered a group of friends around, neighbors and friends, and brought them to my house and had someone from the organization come and share and tell her story, and we were all just totally motivated, totally sold, and like whatever we can do to raise this money. So we put together this great fundraiser at Mozambique and Laguna Beach. It was a super fun party, and we raised like $26,000 in that day, and it was amazing. It was such a celebration. She got to have the surgeries. She did not end up needing a hysterectomy, and again, her warts are completely gone. She's completely healed. And she's a beautiful girl. She's 16 now. I mean, I just love her. She's so smart, straight A's. She wants to be a doctor. She's amazing. She lives with her biological brother Manny lives in the home with them as well, and he's off at boarding school. He's a superstar rugby player. He's setting records in the 400-meter dash, and he's getting ready to graduate from high school. He's going to go great places. So the end of the story is good. Hi, Lynn. Did you sneak in? Hi. I got involved and we had this great fundraiser and I was really excited, and everyone was like, yay, celebrate. And then it was like over for them. But for me, it was like, this is just the beginning. Like, I can't just turn away. Like, I know the stories now and I know these children. So what's the next step? What can we do next? And it just so happened that the home that Nanji was living in at Acres of Love in South Africa had lost its funding, and they needed someone to come alongside and help with the funding for that home. And the way Acres of Love works is that they have these homes where these children, 8 to 10 children roughly, live in a home with a set of house parents, and they're raised together as a family, and they live there, and the parents are there 24 hours a day, caring for them just like we care for our own. Because of the donor relationships in places like the US and in Europe, they get the best medical care and the best, most nutritious food and therapy, and they go to church and private schools, and I mean, you would not believe the horror stories that these children have been through and what they look like now that they've been in care and they've been rescued and restored, and they have love and healing and faith. These children are doing so well. So like these kids and several other live in one of those homes that I decided to come alongside and raise support for. So I was invited then to go to South Africa and meet the kids and see the devastation and the poverty and understand how the organization works. And I was so excited and so nervous and timid about approaching, I shouldn't say I was timid. I'm never really timid when I approach my husband, but I was like, I'm going to South Africa. Is that all right? Kind of a thing. And it took a lot of discussions and prayer, but I decided to go. I was very nervous to leave. I had 2 daughters at the time. I mean, is that responsible to even do as a mom? Leave your family and go to Africa? It's not safe. Is this, whatever. But I really just felt like God was asking me to follow him, and I really trusted him, and I trusted the call, and so we followed through with it. And it was very transforming. I mean, seeing the poverty in that country and seeing the squatter camps, is what they call, where a lot of the people live, these like makeshift little tin homes and shacks. Meeting the orphan children that I had heard stories of that are now no longer orphans. They belong to a family, and they have so much hope and such a great future in front of them. And it's just experiencing that healing and that love. It really changed me. And I remember the first night that we stayed there, we always stay in really nice hotels, very, very safe areas. So we were in this really fancy, like 5-star hotel, probably the fanciest place I'd ever stayed, which is funny to think when you go to Africa. But it was like a huge storm that night, and there was just rain like pelting down and thunder and lightning, and I was awake at like 2 o'clock in the morning, totally jet lagged and just devastated from like the poverty that I had seen that day. And I just couldn't understand how there were millions of children out in that storm wandering around. I know my kids are scared of the thunder and the lightning. I mean, I still get a little bit scared of the thunder and the lightning, right? And where were they? Were they out in the rain? Did they have shelter? Were they scared? Were they just totally missing their moms at that time? Like, it really just shook me up. But the culture shock, I think, happened more when I returned to the United States after that amazing trip, and I was like, come back to this lavish community in Orange County, San Clemente, in my nice home and car and clothes in the closet and too much food in the fridge, and I was just sick to my stomach, and I'm like, that's it, we're just gonna sell everything, sell it all, we're just gonna take the money, we're moving, we're gonna go take care of these kids, we're gonna give it all away, that's what we're doing. And my husband's like, no, we're not doing that, that is not what we're doing, you're crazy, we're not moving to Africa, we're not selling everything. Like, I was totally supportive of your journey, but let's think of another way to be useful. So it took me a while, I struggled for a long time with that suffering, and I really wrestled this out with God. And I sought him, and I prayed, and I read anything I could get my hands on related to this kind of issue. And I entered into a season where I really questioned, what am I supposed to do now? How can I make a difference in the life of orphans here when they're there? Like, what am I supposed to do? What does it look like to follow Jesus in Orange County as a wife and a mother? How am I supposed to follow him with errands to run, and school conferences to attend, and practices to get to, and dinner to make, and laundry to fold, and noses to wipe, and little ones to tuck into bed? How do you follow Jesus while you're doing that important job? God reminded me, follow me every day, with every single person I put in front of you, with every appointment that's on your cell phone, with every single dollar that you spend out of your wallet, every room in your home, with every outfit that you put on, every thought that you have about yourself when you touch up your makeup, with every Facebook status that you post, and every text message that you send, every happy hour that you're still meeting your friends at, in your marriage, with your children, with your neighbors. You know, God told me, you don't have to move to Africa to be used. This is your mission field, here, where I put you. Use your time and your talent and your treasure here to serve the children over there. The founder of the organization gave me this great, very grandiose title called Emissary, which basically means that you go in front, you go ahead, and you plead the cause. And so I took that on to be a very serious job of pleading the cause and using my voice for the voiceless, and doing everything I could at any opportunity in front of any person to tell the story, to educate, to plead the cause, and to invite people to come alongside me in this journey of taking care of these children and transforming their own lives. You know, I've been to South Africa 9 times now in just, 7 years, and I lead groups of women there once or twice a year where I gather women donors who come alongside in this work with me, and I take them there for an amazing experience, and I show them the poverty, and they get to see the organization, how it's run from a business level on the ground. They get to meet the children that they support, take pictures and videos, and spend time and go on safari and really kind of understand, what the organization's about. And my family has been there twice. Our young kids, and we took my youngest daughter when she was 18 months old, and we were just there again recently. I adopted my son. He's our youngest. His name is Melikuchle, but he goes by Mello. And if you've seen him or met him, you'll know that he's not mellow. He's very hyper. And that's a brilliant story in itself, what God has done in this work, because my youngest daughter, Avery, who's 4 now, she was a twin, and we lost her brother just 8 hours after she was born. She was born as a preemie at 28 weeks. He passed away 8 hours later. She was very sick, but she's amazing, perfect, healthy now. But we lost that boy, and we were devastated, and we didn't understand what God was doing with all that. And sure enough, years later, we go through the adoption process because we just felt like the Lord had called us to that. And we were open to boy, girl, age, whatever the Lord had, and He gave us a little boy, nearly the same age as Avery. They're only 8 months apart. And it's a beautiful thing to witness their relationship and to see how she has blossomed into a much more confident and whole person, and how very much in love they are, especially her with him. And so, you think you're getting into something to bless someone else. Like, I'm going to bless this child by bringing him into our family, but truly we're the ones that are blessed by being able to witness the impact that he has on his sister and our other girls and us and our community, and it's awesome. It took many years, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, but we eventually got that home, that Bridges for Everyone, fully funded, $90,000 a year sustained, which is a huge celebration. We kind of accomplished that in September of last year, I guess. And then when I was in South Africa in October leading a group of women, we were celebrating that the home was funded, and we had these amazing 10 children that we got to spend time with, that we knew now we were responsible for their daily lives, and we got to be a part of their lives forever. Well, we decided the last night when we went out to dinner over a tequila shot that we were going to open a new home, and we were going to just take on this huge commitment. It's going to cost $180,000 to fund a new home. We're going to purchase the home and put 10 kids in it, and then sustain that for the rest of their lives. We were very nervous, and we all went around the table and said all of our disclaimers and all of our disqualifications, and how I'm not a salesperson, and I'm not a fundraiser, and I don't know marketing, and I don't know a lot of people, and I'm afraid to ask people for money. We kind of got all that out on the table, and we just trusted that God was going to do something amazing. We went to bed that night, and I texted Herda, who's the founder and CEO, and I said, I'm just so excited, because after all this time, my dream has come true. I'm gonna open another home. I'm gonna get 10 more kids in there. I'm so excited. Went to sleep, and in the morning she wrote back and said, Kim, this is incredible. It's such an answer to a prayer, because I already have a home for you, and we just moved in 4 babies in Cape Town, and we don't have a partner to sustain the home on a yearly basis. Would you like to take over that home? It's already purchased. $90,000 has already been done. Will you come alongside? So I got to go to breakfast that morning and be like, guess what, ladies? We have 4 babies. We already purchased the home. $90,000 has already been taken care of, and half of the money has already been raised. It was this amazing night. And I'll tell you what, miracle after miracle, But our home, we are already funded. That home is funded in 4 months. I'm telling you, we've already gained enough support. I've been endlessly talking to anybody who will listen, and we've already raised the $90,000 a year to fund that home on a yearly basis. This is incredible what God has done. And then I was just back in South Africa again in March, getting to meet those new 4 babies and spend time with them and get to know them, and had a really exciting call from God while I was there to write a book for Acres of Love now, which I'm working on, telling the story of the organization and the miracles of provision that have come from God for the founders as they opened up their lives to rescue hundreds and hundreds of orphans. So it just goes on and on. The work just keeps growing, and it's just so miraculous. And if you would have told me 10 years ago that this is what my life would have looked like, I would have told you we're absolutely crazy. There's no way that that's what I would be doing 10 years down the road. But this is what God does when you're serious about following him. You know, my interaction with the poor and the orphan and the sick, it has changed me and my family. And Jesus continues to beckon me to follow him. And I try every day to stay as close behind as I can. And I try every day to give over control and to surrender my life to his plan and to hand over my purse and give him that control. And I'll be perfectly honest, I don't do it perfectly, and I get off track a lot. And I can often be found clinging tightly to my purse and kind of having that tug of war with God over control. I spend way too much unnecessary money at Target. I don't know if anybody else has that problem. I overschedule my family. I lose my temper with my kids. I neglect my husband. I waste time on Facebook. I take naps instead of doing my Bible study homework. Sometimes I drink too much wine with my friends, and the list goes on and on. But it's not about doing it all perfectly or looking like you're all put together on the outside. It's not about having that fancy, expensive, trendy purse to show off and pretending like all your stuff on the inside is in all the right compartments and just so. You know, the most important part is how you hold your purse. You know, do you hold it like across the body like this, you know? I love a messenger bag. I used to carry one of those. I love that. I'm just being funny and making light of it, but is that how we're holding our purse? Like we just like so protected that nobody can get at it, that no one can like take it. We have control. You know, do you carry it over your shoulder? Do you have a clutch? You know, what kind of purse do you carry, so to speak? But seriously, the best way to hold your purse right would be like this, right? Open arms with all your stuff just open, allowing God access to it, allowing him to use you, because really everything we have, be it in our purse or in our lives, I mean, every breath we take is a gift from God every day. And shame on us if we think we have tomorrow, because we just might not. So I'm wondering, what if? What if you gave God your purse? Thank you. Yeah, I do have a short video if you guys are okay. Just if you're right, are we okay? Yeah, we're okay on time. It's like a 4-minute video, just a little introduction to Acres of Love, so you can kind of just get